And if you want the best front loader, you get an LG. And if you want the best LG front loader, you get this. This is LG's 5.2 cubic foot mega capacity washer. It's definitely known for its capacity, but today, in addition to that, we're going to take an in-depth look at some of the other features that LG's implemented and see if it's worth the hefty price tag that they require. Let's get started by looking at a laundry detergent dispenser. There's a slot for bleach, fabric softener, and 2 for detergent, 1 for pre-wash and 1 for the main wash. As you can see, I've put a minimum amount of detergent in, and you'll get better results with the front loader if you do that as well. Once you choose your wash cycle, you can add additional options using the touch panel. It's a little bit of a pain that the touch panel isn't entirely backlit, but not a deal breaker. Here I've chosen cold wash and 1 extra rinse. Once you're happy with your selections, you can press play or start to begin. Another handy option that I typically use is the custom program. At the touch of 1 button, you can select all your options and then press start. This is much easier if you typically choose the same wash cycle. LG has built a lot of features into this washer to make it very energy efficient. One of the primary ways it does this is through water conservation. Front loaders are already known for being much more water efficient than a traditional top loader. This washer goes a step further. At the beginning of every wash cycle, it does a load sensing technique where it jiggles the clothes slightly to determine their weight. It then tosses them around and does another gentle jiggle to determine the weight of the clothes. It then uses this weight to determine how much water to use. For the online reviews that said that this washer barely gets your clothes wet, they're obviously just coming from a traditional top loader mentality. It's not going to fill the drum completely with water and then drain it multiple times, but I've been very pleased with the amount of water that this washer uses. Here's the load sensing process from the perspective of the display. As you can see, the load sensing icon is blinking and the estimated time remaining is still being calculated. Once it determines the size of the load and how much water is needed, it will then display the time remaining on the display. In this instance, it estimates 42 minutes. Probably the second most common reason that one would purchase this washer is because of its ability to effectively clean clothes while being very gentle on the fabric. LG accomplishes this using their 6-motion direct drive motor. They have 6 different washing actions depending on the cycle you've chosen, and because there's no belts attached to the motor, they're able to change directions very quickly. The result is cleaner clothes with less wear and tear, less wrinkling, and less tangling. This is why you buy a front loader. It's so much more effective at cleaning your clothes than a traditional top loader. Here's an example of one of my favorite washing actions, which LG refers to as swinging. It gently tosses the clothes from side to side without being too rough on the fabric. This would be used on a gentle cycle, such as the wool cycle. Now let's take a look at Turbo Wash. There are nozzles on either side of the drum that spray water and soap directly onto the clothes. The idea is that your clothes are immediately in contact with the soap and water instead of relying on tumbling alone. This option isn't on by default for most cycles, and I'm not sure why. I don't know why anyone wouldn't want to get a better wash in less time, but it can easily be turned on from the touch panel, and I have it turned on all the time. Here we see LG's atomizing rinse. It uses this nozzle in addition to the Turbo Wash nozzles to rinse your clothes during the rinse cycle. A good rinse is key to removing soap residue, which will keep your clothes smelling fresh. Now that the rinse cycle is over, the washer begins one of those 6 washing actions known as filtration. This removes the majority of the water before the spin cycle begins. This helps better distribute the clothes in the drum. There have been times when the washer begins the spin cycle but isn't happy with the distribution of the clothes because of the amount of shaking. It then stops, redistributes the clothes, and begins spinning again. The washer also uses bearings inside of the drum lining to offset uneven loads. Now if you wash a rug by itself, it's not going to be able to offset that and you're going to get an uneven load error. But in just a moment we'll take a look at a free app that LG has that helps you determine what those error codes mean and also diagnose other problems should they arise. Front loaders are known for their intense spin cycles, which removes the majority of the water from the clothes. However, they're also known for being extremely loud and shaking the entire house. And although the drum itself can shake violently, LG's put a lot of effort into adding springs and shocks throughout the body that absorb that. I've been very pleased with the results. This isn't the early days of front loaders where you're not allowed to put the washer on the second floor because of how violently it shakes. This washer is very quiet and it doesn't dance around your laundry room like previous models. And when the cycle's complete on the washer or dryer, you get this happy little song. This is much better than the annoying buzz on old style washers. Now let's take a look at capacity. After all, that would be the main reason you'd buy this washer. LG claims that you can wash a king comforter along with all the bedding. And while that is true, I wouldn't recommend it. The more room the laundry has to move around in the drum, the better wash you're going to get. For demonstration purposes here, I've loaded a king comforter, the fitted sheet, the flat sheet, and just for good measure, a second king comforter. Now again, I wouldn't recommend this, but this is just to show you the sheer capacity of the drum. It can definitely wash your king comforter alone, and it saved us a ton of time by cutting our number of loads in half. Another really helpful feature is the sanitary cycle. It uses the hot water supply in addition to heating elements in the washer to make the water extra hot. This is really helpful for sanitizing clothes or bedding. The door will lock during this cycle like always, but on this cycle it would not allow you to open the door until the washer has cooled. Another common problem with front loaders is mildew buildup around the sill of the door. We've had this washer for a little over 6 months and haven't cleaned it at all. As you can see, there's very little of that. We are on county water, so if you're on well water you may see different results. However, LG has a tub clean cycle that we'll look at later that helps address this as well. And as you might expect, the stainless steel drum doesn't experience any problems with mold or mildew. The primary way to prevent mildew buildup is to leave the door slightly ajar so it can dry. LG recommends you wipe down the inside of the door and the seal, but no one's going to do that. A more realistic option is this magnet that LG's added to hold the door closed while keeping it slightly ajar. In addition to that, LG recommends you run the tub clean cycle once a month. I think that's a little too frequently, but I'm going to clean it here for demonstration purposes. The washer came with coupons for this tub cleaning solution from Tide. It's really important that you add the solution directly to the drum and not to the soap dispenser. I will mention that the smell of this cleaner was a little overwhelming at first, and it remained in our laundry room for a couple of days. Once the tub cleaning solution is in the drum, you simply close the door and select the tub clean cycle and then press start. You will notice the display shows TCL for tub clean. Once you press start, it's going to begin like every other cycle with the load sensing process. It wouldn't surprise me if LG does this to make sure you're not putting clothes in and inadvertently selecting the tub clean cycle. Once the tub clean cycle completes, you're going to want to be able to open the door afterwards to let it air out. It's not a bad chemical smell, but it was overwhelming smell and it lasted for a few days. You can see that the cycle is going to take about an hour and a half to complete. When your washer holds the world record for capacity, you're going to need a dryer that can keep up. This is the